access to go and see behind the scenes during first practice. Look at that, nice bright light to guide us in. Obviously a little bit different than being out at the Grand Prix itself, but I think it's going to be really interesting to see just how much work goes on at the factory whilst the Grand Prix team's out on track. We're in. Designed by Norman Foster, opened by the Queen, this really is more like an art gallery than somewhere you'd expect them to be building dirty old racing cars. There's so much history here on display. McLaren are the second most successful team in Grand Prix racing with 169 victories. But if this is the past, getting down to the business end of the factory is where the future is created. So here we are coming into the race shop. This is where the magic happens. This is where the cars are actually put together before being shipped out to Korea. And a big motivation for the mechanics that are building the cars, look at the banks of trophies. Everything that's needed to go Grand Prix racing is designed and manufactured here. Look at that. That could be a piece of jewellery. Someone would probably wear that in their ear. And I guarantee you that'll cost 1,000 times more than your average nut holding on something on your road car. Beautiful. Works of art. If I just climb up here, what you have is a four-poster rig. These actuators are strapped to the car, and they'll pull this down to simulate the actual forces that the car will see when it's out on track. So any issues they see out in Korea this weekend, they'll be able to simulate here. Restricted access, not for the BBC. So this is incredible. We're actually inside the main building that houses the wind tunnel. You can see how huge it is as they channel this air around, all trying to get the perfect airflow around the car. So much heat generated in this room, they have to use the lake outside to cool the building. The thing I really love about the wind tunnel models is they're handmade. There's another room next door to this. There's a group of guys there. You know, when the engineer comes up with a new concept, they have to make it by hand and fit it to the wind tunnel model. Every detail of the car is covered in this 50% scale model. They'll even blow hot air through the back of the car to help simulate the heat that's generated from the exhausts and the engine. This really is the key to winning and losing in Formula One. So, just after 1:30, and this is where our journey through McLaren has brought us, to mission control. Basically, this is where all the guys with big brains hang out. They'll be looking at the data that's beamed back from Korea, and they'll be offering vital support to the team out there on track. We're going to be following the sessions from inside this room a bit later on. Right in the heart of mission control. Good morning.
Hi, how are you?
Can you explain just the setup that we have here? You've got sort of 3 tiers of people. What is the structure here?
Okay, so on the back row, we've got the guys who are looking at the strategy. In the middle row here, we've got guys looking at mechanical systems. And then on the front row, we have the aerodynamic team and vehicle dynamics.
And just to explain to the people at home, what is the real advantage of having the people here in the main factory?
I think there's 2 things, really. It gives us the ability to have more engineers looking at the data, but also it's a bit of a cooler atmosphere in here. So the guys here can reflect on the data, they can look at trends and give advice and things that you just don't see if you're out there, you know, sitting on the pit wall. We actually have had guys here listening to the BBC commentary and hear comments that are made about track condition or other cars that's actually made us go and look, and we've used that.
So BBC is another member of the McLaren team.
Absolutely, yeah.
Good work, BBC. Was that Lewis we had there saying it was the dirtiest track he's ever been on? In fairness, they only laid the tarmac last week.
Yeah.
Just fantastic to be able to get the feedback straight away. You actually feel that you're there in Korea, and here we are in Woking. How much of an input would you have on pit stop strategy, and how much of that is just led by the pit wall?
Most of the pit stop strategy actually led from in here. So the guys at the back, they're running a simulation of the race that builds as every sector goes by. They'll be recommending a stop lap.
So what are the guys doing right now? They keep coming through the pits and going back out on track?
Yeah, because it's a new circuit, we're just checking the time to drive down the pit lane so that when we're doing the strategy, we can work out the stop time.
Lewis Hamilton could be about to go quickest, and he has by a full second.
Well, that's got to be a high-five moment, is it not?
Good lap, wasn't it? Excellent lap.
Laughter's broken out in the room. All right, Martin, well, good morning from Mission Control. It's come up to lunchtime for you in Korea. Had a really interesting session here with your guys. Have you been interacting with them yourself from the pit wall?
You'll have seen that there were people there, aerodynamicists, other data engineers, people working on the gearbox changing strategies, etc., all the way through that session, and there would have been probably 6 or 7 different conversations going on from the garage and from the pit wall with engineers there, giving us information, doing the analysis and guiding us as to the next run that we're going to do during our test session.
Would you ever be in a situation where you would overrule the information that you were sent there?
9 times out of 10 we've got to believe in the work that we're doing back in Woking. I think the occasions when you might change that is clearly local information. For instance, if it's raining or something's changing, then might cause us to do something different to what they're advising from Woking.
What's very interesting is the fact that it's completely silent here. So why would you not put yourself in a sound-proof booth out there on the pit wall or back in the garage and try and recreate that good thinking space?
You know, there's a lot to be said for being in a quiet environment that you've just enjoyed and making decisions. But you know, there is you still, with all the weather radar, with all the information and data, you still can't help yourself put your hand out to see if it's raining. So that's probably the only reason we're still here.
Well, I look forward to talking to you over the course of the weekend, and I hope you don't mind. It's just coming up to after 4 o'clock in the morning here. I think I'm going to go and have a snooze on the sofa in your office.
Help yourself.
Good to speak to you, David.
And you, all the best.
Absolutely fascinating, and DC was the only